Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Technology Tuesdays with a focus on online classifieds. My name is Lydia Nimke, and I've been doing adult programming at the Bayview branch of the Milwaukee Public Library for the past 3 years. And today I'm going to be doing a presentation all about buying and selling with online classifieds. I have both bought and sold items with these online classifieds I'm going to talk about today, and we'll be doing demonstrations inside of them. With us today, we also have Mary from the King branch of MPL, and she'll be assisting you with any technical questions you may have and reading your questions about the presentation aloud. You can ask questions at any time in the panel on the right of your computer or push the question mark on your mobile device. So let's go ahead and get started. Gonna turn off my webcam and we'll be ready to go. So just to speak a little bit about the agenda for today, we'll briefly touch on why you might want to use online classifieds before discussing two of the most well-used. By far the most popular is Craigslist, but following close behind is the Facebook Marketplace. We'll talk about buying and selling on those before moving on to demonstrations. Finally, we'll jump back into the presentation for some best practices to avoid scams. So let's get started. Unlike other online selling platforms like eBay and Mercari, no shipping is involved when you use these online classifieds. Sellers are often within driving distance. You can negotiate on prices. You are able to get the item in your hands and test before you buy it. And you can easily rid yourself of items you no longer want with minimal contact. Craigslist has actually popularized the term curb alert, where people who no longer want an item put it outside on their curb before posting a curb alert listing the item as free to the first person who comes to get it in an online classified. People who want the item go over and grab it, and the person removes their ad. That's one of my favorite features of Craigslist and Facebook Marketplaces. You can declutter your home with minimal effort on your part. So as I mentioned, today's presentation will be quite demonstration heavy with walkthroughs both in Craigslist and the Facebook Marketplace. And I'll be showing you both sides, buyer and seller. I have bought a few items on both of these platforms, but I am not an expert. So if you have any tips for other buyers or sellers, please put them in the questions box and feel free to share them. So when you're making a deal from the buyer's side, you want to read the ads carefully before contacting the seller. You can sometimes avoid asking questions that are answered in the ad. And if the seller asks for a specific request, such as no price negotiation, or they want you to text them or call them, etc., you can respect their request when you answer their ad. Making offers. So you can often negotiate for 10 to 20% off the price that is listed on the ad. Try to avoid offering too little because sellers can become insulted and refuse to even make a counteroffer. Making an offer is not a contractual obligation through Craigslist or through the Facebook Marketplace. You should make multiple offers to multiple people to increase your chances of getting an item at your desired price. Now, there are some risks involved in online transactions, of course. You want to make sure you meet at a safe location, such as a police station, coffee shop, restaurant, etc., during the day if at all possible. Many police stations actually have Craigslist meeting areas specifically designed for these, online classified type transactions. Utilize them when you can because they are going to be one of your safest places to meet. And to increase safety, you can bring someone with you, or at the very least, inform someone, a friend or a family member, where you're going and when you're expected back, and of course, bring your cell phone. And you're going to want to make sure to examine the item and test it before you pay. If the item is expensive, such as a car, make sure you get a bill of sale or receipt and the title, and have a mechanic check it out before any money exchanges hands. Finally, if you are uncomfortable at any time during the transaction or you feel unsafe, God forbid, Craigslist has no contractual obligation, as I mentioned earlier, so just walk away from it. There'll be other sales, there'll be other deals. You can walk away at any time. Craigslist is not like eBay. Facebook Marketplace is not like eBay. It does not have any buyer protection. So whatever you do, whatever you interact on there, you have to protect yourself. And that safety portion, we're going to go over a little bit more in the avoiding scams. But I just want to really emphasize that you are in charge of your own safety. Moving on to selling, you want to add pictures to your ads. Use the best camera you have access to and adequate lighting. Also, you'll want to choose the proper item type. For example, if you are selling a model or RC car, you could put it in vehicles or cars and trucks, but it would best be put under toys or collectibles. You can always do a quick Google search to make sure what item type the item you have is. For a description, you'll want to add as many details as you possibly can, including dimensions, any damage that might be on the item, model year, and any other details that you might find relevant if you were the purchaser. And contact information. Include your phone number in the ad at your own risk. There is always the option to use the email proxy for Craigslist. And then provide your phone number once you know the person is a serious seller or buyer, or you have scheduled a time for you all to meet and exchange the good. Okay, so with that, we are going to switch on over to our demo portion. All right. So we're going to start with Craigslist. And if there are any questions on selling, buying, Craigslist in general, Facebook Marketplace in general, before we get going, otherwise we're going to start this walkthrough. Okay, great. So when you type in Craigslist.com, if you've used it before, it'll probably automatically default to your location. If you've never used it, Craigslist.org, you might see something like this, in which you'll be prompted to select your location. Of course, for today's presentation, we're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I'm going to scroll down to Wisconsin and select Milwaukee. And now we're in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin classifieds. Over on the right here, you'll see all the nearby large cities that have their own Craigslist. So if you were looking for something and you couldn't necessarily find it in Milwaukee, you could extend your search to Chicago or Green Bay or Kenosha Racine if you decided to. So as you can see, there are several different sections of this website. We have community, services, discussion forums, housing, for sale, jobs, gigs, and resumes. Gigs are like one-off jobs. And under all those larger categories, there are more specific categories as well. So for today's purposes, we'll just be using for sale in general. So up at the top, you can change the items you're looking at. You can easily scroll through them like this, and you can choose the categories as well. Over on the left here is all your search filters. So you can change whether you're looking at an item from the owner of the item or from a professional dealer. And these will change slightly depending on what sort of item you're looking at. So for example, if we're looking at cars and trucks, you'll see it'll have information related to a car, odometer reading, model year, those sorts of things. And then if we're looking at, a different sort of item, it'll give us different search filters. You can also use the search bar at the top to find specific items that you may be looking for. So if you're looking for a specific model, size, type, you can add that in there and only see those results that fit in your requirements. So say we looked for a lawnmower in farm and garden for sale. See, we have all our lawnmowers that are posted on Craigslist right now. You can also change the way you browse through ads. You can change the way they're sorted, which can be by price or relevancy or new. And you can change the way you see them. So you can change it to a list view, a thumbnail, a gallery, and even a map, which shows you where the item is being sold from, which is a pretty nice feature. I usually will stick with either gallery or map view because you can actually look through the pictures before you click on an ad to just see that it's worth clicking on even. So once you click on a specific ad for an item, there are 3 general parts to take note of in this full Craigslist ad. There are pictures. You can look at the pictures of an ad by clicking the arrows or by hovering or clicking on the thumbnails below the larger picture. You can also zoom into the picture by clicking directly on it. We have the description underneath the picture, and this is written by the seller and includes any specific information from your filters over here on the right side. So it'll give you some detailed information. Willing to deliver, that's great. Asking 1200 or best offer. OBO stands for or best offer, and that's a good indicator that you can negotiate with them. Or best offer means willing to accept negotiations, of course. And the third part to take note of in the Craigslist ad itself is contact information. So you can access contact information one of 2 ways: by clicking the reply button and clicking show phone number or show email. Taking a little time to load. Whoops. And you'll see here we have that Craigslist email relay proxy. So what this does is adds an added layer of protection for the seller. So instead of putting their email published on the internet, probably somehow connected at least to where they live, we're, as the buyer, going to send an email to this link. We'll copy and paste it. It'll go to Craigslist, and Craigslist will send it to the seller. The other way to access the contact information is if you see one of these show contact information buttons in the description. Not everyone has this, but if you click that, you'll have to fill out a CAPTCHA. You'll fill out a CAPTCHA, and then it'll display that information for you. Okay, so we'll go back to the main page. Are there any questions about the Craigslist browsing and viewing before we move on to drafting a post?
No questions.
Okay, awesome. So to create a post, of course, we're going to go up to the upper left-hand corner where it says create a posting. What type of posting is this? This posting is for sale by owner. I'm the owner of the item I'm trying to sell. So choose the category. And again, there's that little mention, avoid scams, deal locally and meet in person. So Craigslist doesn't offer you any protection, so they try to warn you where they can. So I'm going to choose the collectibles category. Posting title. When putting the location, I generally would only put my zip code, and you'll see that gives people a general idea of where you are. It's only going to be 2 or 3 minutes difference of travel time, typically. And then you're just going to fill in your description. I'm not actually going to sell this item, so I don't have a very exhaustive description, and it's a toy. So put in your contact information and see it's telling you that replies will use that Craigslist mail relay. And you don't have to add your phone number if you don't want to. It's not required, but you can if you would like to. You can also go as specific as putting your address if you have something like a lawnmower that you're selling and they need to come to pick it up. You can put that address there as well. I wouldn't ever really click this box that it's okay for others to contact you about other services, products, or commercial interests. This is pretty much just going to open you up to spam. So I wouldn't click that box necessarily.
We
Okay.
do have one question here.
Sure.
Carol would like to know, where do you find curb alerts, and what type of free stuff?
Sure, absolutely. Great question, Carol. I'll show you that. So if you're on Craigslist, under for sale, there's a category that's just free. So that's generally where you'll find things that are just placed outside. Sometimes they'll actually say curb alert, sometimes not. If it's a more fragile item like this organ, if you put that on the curb, chances are in Wisconsin it would be ruined in a day. So sometimes they might talk to them out at the curb. See, there's a grill out on the curb in Waukesha. Microwave. They really have all different type of items. Lots of time when people get a new sofa, they don't realize they have to get rid of the old sofa, so it just ends up going out to be a free sofa on the curb. I hope that answered your question, Carol. Thank you. Okay, so back to our post. We've added our description, our posting title, and enough contact information for them to get in touch with us. We're going to click continue. And you see, this is what the map will display as our location in our ad. So it's just my general area. I am within that circle, so I'm not fully concerned about it at all. So we'll click continue. And then we'll add an image. Always want to add an image if at all possible. Boom, done with images. And this is kind of a preview of what our ad will look like. You click reply, same thing, Craigslist relay email, and then you'll push publish. So if you're going to be doing a lot of buying and selling on Craigslist, I recommend you to create an account. But if you just have one thing you need to get rid of, it doesn't require you to create an account to publish a post. Okay. If you have any questions about adding a post or creating an ad on Craigslist, let me know. I'll be happy to go over anything in more depth. Now we're going to move on to a walkthrough of Facebook Marketplace. Okay. So there are two ways to access Facebook Marketplace. You can do so over on the left here in the menu on the side, clicking Marketplace, or you can do it at the top. This little icon that looks kind of like a shop is the Marketplace icon. So we'll click that.
There's just a quick comment from Roseanne that she posted her son's truck on Facebook Marketplace. She gave no contact info until she was contacted, address only, and the truck wasn't running. There were no other safety options, but she forgot to do a bill of sale. But she said it worked out fine.
Okay, I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say necessarily that everyone out here is out to get you, of course. A lot of these people, you know, are neighbors. We might shop at the same grocery store, but it's always good to have an air of caution. Um, but definitely, if you felt comfortable doing that, totally fine. But I would guess that there probably weren't any things that made you feel uncomfortable, of course. I'm glad it worked out. So in the Facebook Marketplace, of course, I forgot to mention that I have a Facebook account, which is something you need to use the Facebook Marketplace, and I'm all logged into it. Of course, with Facebook and with Craigslist, you can do this all on your phone. Facebook has its own app. Craigslist, you do have to use the browser on your phone. All right, so you'll see categories that are listed pretty similar to the ones on Craigslist. We have our free stuff. See, it's another wide variety of items. And once you click on one, there are sub options included pretty similarly to Craigslist. So you'll also notice that you can change your location range. So I can change my location to another city entirely if I know I'm going to be there, or I could simply increase my radius. Right now it's set at 12 miles. I can increase that out to 20 miles and get a wider variety of options. I can also set my search filters. If I have a price limit that I'm aiming to stay under, or I want the item to be like a brand new item, I can set that up here. We can also search just like we did earlier. If we're looking for a specific item, and we'll do that up at the top here. So if you click on the actual ad, you'll see all the details listed over on the right here. And you can even see a little bit of information about the seller. So that is an important thing to note, that when you sell on the Facebook Marketplace, it's connected to your Facebook profile. So when you sell or buy, rather, all of the communication and negotiation starts off through Facebook Messenger. So there's, I mean, if you wanted to put your phone number or email in the description, you could, but it's already kind of all taken care of through the Facebook Messenger application. It's a separate application on your phone. It already even auto-populates a message to send. So you could say, "Hi, John, is this available?" If you don't want to say that, if you'd rather ask a question, you can say, "Hi, John, how big is the monitor?" Of course, he probably answers that. It's 24 inches. So that's where reading carefully comes in hand. And we could send that off to John and he'll respond to us and we can start off our selling and buying relationship. Similarly, you can scroll through your pictures using these arrows. And that is pretty much Facebook Marketplace. It's pretty simple to use. We'll also be creating a listing, the same listing here that we created on Craigslist. I forgot to mention that the create new listing is right below the search bar and it's on every page. So you don't have to be on the home page to create a new listing, which is nice. So you're going to choose your listing type. There's only 3 here. Item for sale. And as you see here, we have something we have mentioned in a previous Tech Tuesdays, which is a Wysiwyg Editor. That stands for what you see is what you get. So everything you enter on the left here will automatically populate in the preview window so you can see exactly what your ad is going to look like. So I'm just going to quickly type some things in here. Choose your appropriate category. Okay, that looks good. And we have to add a photo. So we're going to add that same photo. And you can add up to 10 photos in Facebook Marketplace. And that little guy looks great. So once we click next, after we've entered all of our pertinent information, we're asked to verify our location, and then we'll click the blue publish button down at the bottom here. So are there any questions about the Facebook Marketplace?
Not at this time. We don't have any questions.
Okay, wonderful. If any arise, feel free to input them, and we can always go back, and I'll try and illustrate my answer to your question. All right. So we shall jump back into our presentation here. And talk about scams. So as with anything, the onus is on you to be a smart consumer and do your research. There are some instances, but they are rare, where your scammer can be found and charged with a variety of things. But for the most part, it's your job to protect your safety, privacy, personal information, and to avoid these scams. I'm going to give you some general tips you can try and follow to aid in this endeavor, but know that you must always use your best judgment. When in doubt, just end the transaction. All right. So online classified deals, especially Craigslist, should always be made face-to-face. Craigslist was made to facilitate face-to-face interactions. It wasn't made to do online wheeling and dealing or shipping or anything of that nature. Facebook Marketplace, there's a little bit more leeway with shipping on that one because there are some entrepreneurs who post their business's goods on there. But for Craigslist, it should really be a face-to-face interaction when the money is exchanged. Never send a money order, cashier's check, PayPal, wire transfer, anything of that sort before you've actually, always meet in public places, as we mentioned earlier, like the police station, shopping center, or a restaurant. And again, tell a friend or family member where you're going and bring a friend if possible, especially with high value items. So if you're walking to meet someone, even if it's in a restaurant parking lot with $3,000 in your pocket to buy a car, I would bring someone with you just to make sure you have that added level of safety. Of course, bring your cell phone. Test out the items before you buy them. An item could look great, but if it's something that needs to be plugged in and you're not by electricity, maybe you don't plug it in and then you take it home and you find out that there's no wires inside or something odd like that. So try and test the items out before you buy them. If it's an electric item, find an outlet, plug it in. If it's a car, take it to your mechanic, have them, vet the vehicle, that it's at least safe for you to operate, and that it'll pass inspection before you transfer money. If your seller is hesitant or doesn't want you for some reason to test out the item, I would move on, because if they don't want you to feel secure in your purchase with them, there's something a little shady going on, in my opinion. You never want to invite strangers into your home, of course, stranger danger. And if it doesn't feel right for any reason, the reasons listed above, or for any other reason, you can end the transaction. Like we said, there's no obligation to purchase through either of these. So there's no harm's going to come to you if you decide not to go through with the transaction. Okay, and that pretty much wraps up this Text Tuesdays. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll be sending a handout and a recording of this session a little bit later this week. If you didn't receive a recording of a previous session that you're interested in, please let me know and I'll be sure to get that out to you. I hope some of you will join us next week for our very last Tech Tuesdays program of the year, all about using Zoom for holiday gatherings. And if you have any final questions, I'll stick around for a few minutes to answer those.
There aren't currently any questions. Oh, maybe there is one. I think it might be let me see here. Let's see. Um, then I'm trying to get to the questions page, and it's not letting me. Technology.
Totally. I can see that we're getting some thank yous, and you all are supremely welcome. When I send you out the follow-up email, feel free if questions arise, and I can answer them, I certainly will. Feel free to respond to that email with any questions you have. All right. Thank you all so much for coming once again. Have a good day.